Where do you want to go on your next African vacation? Also, Turning Point contributor and Frontlines reporter Savanah Hernandez joins to answer some tough questions about the state of journalism in the modern culture. Also, producer Glenn, it's Friday, has pulled some clips never before seen. We're all going to watch them together and try to not get fired or thrown off the air. And a boss fires 2 employees for reasons that the internet hates, but I actually kind of love. All that and more coming up on this episode of Turning Point tonight. My name is Joe Bob. Thanks so much for tuning in. Together, we are charting the course of America's cultural comeback. This is Turning Point Tonight. TBT at tpusa.com is the email if you'd like to send us your thoughts, comments, concerns, criticisms, and we love criticisms here. It doesn't matter if you're wrong. We welcome those with emails with open arms. So TBT at tpusa.com. And by the way, I'm kidding when I say that. There are legitimate criticisms that we do really appreciate getting to tpt at tpusa.com. But let's not make it all harsh criticisms. We can share some lighthearted compliments even. That's possible. TBT at tpusa.com if there's stories that we should be covering. Also, TBT at tpusa.com. Also, go subscribe to our Turning Point Tonight YouTube channel, which is growing by leaps and bounds. You don't want to be the person that doesn't have the Turning Point Tonight YouTube channel right on deck when you're scrolling through things on the internet. Turning Point Tonight on YouTube, Rumble, X, Facebook, Instagram, all of the social media accounts. You can just type in JOBOB. There's not many of us Joe Bobs out there, so it'll take you directly to the Turning Point Tonight YouTube channel. So don't miss out on all of the exclusive content online only at the Turning Point Tonight YouTube channel. What I'd like to talk about first, before we get to a fascinating conversation with Savanah Hernandez, in which I've prepared her none for, which is going to be fun and interesting, and I'm excited for you to see a different side of, I think, Turning Point Tonight's favorite guest. Before that, I thought this was really, really interesting. CNN put out a big, long article about a vacation destination that has been often neglected by tourists, but now has had a resurgence in tourism over the last couple years. I kid you not, CNN wrote an article about why it is a good tourist destination to go to Somalia. Now, I know, you're all rushing to your computers, calling your travel agents. I gotta book a trip to Somalia. Says no one, by the way. But just to give you some context as to what the libs are saying, CNN went on this big whole thing about how Somalia is become a tourist destination. They start with by saying 10,000 tourists visited Somalia in 2024, a 50% increase from the year prior. Which, by the way, is not good numbers. Like, it's not like we're talking like 1 million people that go to like Hawaii, for example. The number has doubled, or it is increased by 50%. Congratulations. It's still only 10,000 people. Why, CNN, are you trying to push Somalia as a tourist destination upon us? An adventure company called, I'm not going to name the adventure company, ran a group of 13 trips to Mogadishu in 2024 compared to just 2. Wow, they're really stepping up their tourist game. Somalia also launched a new e-visa system in 2025, September 2025, to simplify entry in case you or your family would like to take a trip to the third world hellhole that is Somalia. Now, this is all in spite of the fact that the United States government has classified Somalia as a level 4 do not travel. The United Kingdom also warns of high threats of kidnapping. Al-Shabaab militants have carried out deadly attacks in Mogadishu since early 2005, and visitors also must stay in a secure green zone and travel with armed convoys. But none of that should deter you from experiencing the wonder and delight of the third world hellhole that is Somalia. There's also a humanitarian crisis. Over 550,000 people have been displaced in 2024 due to conflict, and CNN calls it climate disasters, but just bad weather, effectively. And by the way, that actually does matter when you're in a third world hellhole and the buildings are not to any sort of code. Yeah, they may actually collapse in a storm. Nearly 3 million people have already been internally displaced. And there's a bunch of piracy concerns and threats to safety in the Gulf of Aden and the Indian Ocean. Against all odds, though, CNN is saying tourism is rising despite a decade of conflict and active government travel warnings. Now, They go on to say why they think travel is resurging. They think it's extreme travel vacation seekers want variety in their countries that they've traveled to in pursuit of personal ambitions to reach all nations. They also note that it's a relative stability in the face of fierce fighting over the course of the previous decade. Somalia is relatively stable now, which makes it a fantastic tourist destination. They also mention the political fragmentations mean that, well, these places are very, very safe to go to, again, in Somalia, but just don't go to any of those other places in the bad parts of the country. Interestingly enough, some of the quotes are very funny. Still, walking on the beach felt safe. Okay, I'm not sure that's a good bar or a standard to take to, but I guess if that's the only thing that you can say, so be it. Why am I talking about this? What is actually going on? Why are there more people visiting Somalia than ever before? Why has the tourism to Somalia increased by 50%? And why is CNN trying to celebrate this as if it is a good thing? What is actually driving it? Because I don't buy the fact that normal everyday people are like, hey, honey, you know where I think we should go on vacation? Mogadishu. I think any sane person who understands the volatility in areas like Somalia would go, no, I'd rather not. But what is driving the vacationing or tourism, or let's just say travel to Somalia? Well, there's this video clip that actually might give some insight into that. A population that exists among us may be the key and only driver of people visiting Somalia. Cut 1.
Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Somalia. Somalia. Hiran State. Ma'awisle. Ma'awisle. Early voting was hadda illa November 4. I need your vote. I need you.
Oh, maybe that's what's driving visiting Somalia. Maybe the fact that we imported a bunch of Somalians specifically to the Minnesota, Minneapolis area. Maybe those people are just going back to visit family or to visit the homeland that their allegiance is actually pledged to. I don't know, CNN. Maybe people aren't trying to vacation to Somalia. Maybe the 50% increase in travel to Somalia is not avid travelers who really want to set a personal ambition goal of reaching all the countries. Maybe it's not people that want to possibly feel safe walking on the beach. Maybe it's not folks who are looking for an adventurous getaway. Maybe it's a bunch of people that we imported into the country for some reason who are simply returning home to the country of their actual allegiance and coming back and forth because we have no standards when it comes to our border. I don't know why CNN decided to publish this. It's so easily ridiculous and easily mockable. 10,000 tourists is not a big number, and the increase in 50%, I can almost guarantee you, is specifically due to the fact that a bunch of Somalia now lives here. And they pledge their allegiance to Somalia, and they wave Somali flags when trying to get elected to U.S. public office, and still hold ties to their homeland, which I don't necessarily think is the worst thing in the world. But when you try to not assimilate to the culture of the United States and instead bring the culture of a third world hellhole here, I don't know why we're supposed to pretend that that's a good thing. I don't know if this is a spicy take or not, but I think the article that I saw when it flashed up on my CNN headline, "Consider visiting Somalia. It is a great tourist destination," was so ridiculous and absurd. I don't know. I was just curious about it. I think you would be curious about it too. And furthering the point, mainstream media, CNN specifically, is a laughingstock because it deserves to be. We got a lot of great stuff coming up here on Turning Point tonight. Going to do an extended talk with Savanah Hernandez, show favorite, Turning Point Tonight favorite, fan favorite, I would hope. Going to ask her some questions more broadly about what it is that she does, how she does it, and her takes on whether or not it's a good thing for journalists to be friends with politicians. You're going to be really interested to hear what she has to say. tpt@tpusa.com is the email address. Also, go subscribe to our Turning Point Tonight YouTube channel and leave a comment there, or send us an email at tpt@tpusa.com. Is Somalia on your list of destinations that are must-go-to, bucket list destinations, or is it not? tpt@tpusa.com is the email. Also, you can leave a comment on any of your social media platforms. We would love to see those. We will be right back after the break to talk to Turning Point contributor and Frontlines reporter Savanah Hernandez. Don't go away. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to Turning Point Tonight. We're together. We are charting the course of America's cultural comeback. tpt@tpusa.com is the email you'd like to send us your thoughts, comments, concerns, and criticisms. We even welcome wrong opinions at tpt@tpusa.com. Also, go subscribe to our YouTube channel, where it's growing by leaps and bounds. You don't want to miss out. You don't want to be the only person that doesn't subscribe to the Turning Point Tonight YouTube channel, or Rumble, or X, or Facebook, or Instagram, or any of the social media platforms. Honestly, just type in JOBOB. There's not a lot of Joe Bobs out there, so you'll be able to find us pretty easily if you just type in that on all of your social media platforms. It is time to welcome back a show favorite, a fan favorite, Savanah Hernandez, Frontlines reporter, Turning Point contributor. First of all, thanks for getting the memo. Producer Glenn sends out a wardrobe suggestion every day, and clearly we decided to match effectively for today. So, Sav,
we're rocking the Dwayne The Rock Johnson. You know, when he has this like fanny pack.
Yes.
That's the look we went for today. So I hope everybody's enjoying it.
Uncle The Rock, as I call him, because we're Samoan and probably related somehow if you go back far enough. Sav, so you don't know what we're talking about because it's a Friday. I decided to have a little bit of fun because, well, I don't know, everybody likes Sav and wants to hear from her and wants to know more about her. So I did this fun thing. I went to Grok, Elon Musk's X platform's AI, and said, what would be some good interview questions for Savanah Hernandez? And lo and behold, it knew exactly who you were and actually spit out some interesting questions that I actually would like your take on. First of all, it started with this bio. Savanah Hernandez, often stylized as Sav or Savannah with one N, is an independent journalist and political commentator known for her fearless frontline reporting on protests, rallies, and controversial events, often aligning with conservative perspectives and emphasizing truth-seeking. So, first of all, how do you like that as an AI bio for you?
Yeah, I was going to say, AI does a better job of hyping me than I do. Be right back. I'm going to go update my entire bio and just ask AI to hype me up here. I kind of hate how good AI is in the modern day, but also thanks, Grok. I'll take it.
Well, it continues and says her background includes journalism degree from New Mexico State University. Skeptical about that. Not a big fan of New Mexico State specifically,
Fair,
but
fair.
we'll let that slide. Experience with outlets like InfoWars and appearances on Fox News and Newsmax. So it knows the whole thing about you, which is either very cool or very scary. So there's that. This is actually interesting. I'm curious to know this too. I'm going to read verbatim from Grok here in asking Savanah some questions. Frontline reporting also often includes unpredictable, dangerous, and ethical tightropes. Can you describe a time where you had to balance your personal safety, and we've talked about this quite a bit in the last couple of days, and the want and need to capture the full story?
Okay, very professional question that I wasn't ready for. Thanks, Grok. But yeah, I mean, I feel like that's every single time I go outside at this point,
Yeah.
and we've kind of talked about that extensively, about how left-wingers are now looking at my press badge and viewing the name Turning Point USA and coming after me for it, whereas that was really never an issue for me before. I feel like the left wing has gone crazy and absolutely insane, as we have all seen. So I want to say, like, every single time I go outside at this point and I wear a press badge, because obviously I want to show people that I'm pressed right away.
Of course.
And then once people are curious as to who I'm pressed for, they then go a little bit insane. I think we saw this best during the No Kings protest, which was the last time I was in New York. This was a couple weeks back. You had people come up to me and tell me that I was a token brown person, and Charlie Kirk only hired me because of my skin tone,
Mm.
because he found out I worked for Turning Point USA. So, it's always an interesting balance. And I was actually talking to one of my friends about this last night, because I was like, look, there is a fine line between journalism and activism. And I do very much I still love the United States of America. This is still my country. And I'm focused on highlighting the issues that do impact me. So, how do I kind of differentiate the personal and then and also the
Totally.
story? And I think the easiest way to do that is by simply being there and neutrally recording what I'm seeing on the ground and letting people decide for themselves, which is what I've always done. And then when the crazies come up to me, I'm like, okay, this wasn't me. I was standing here doing nothing. This is on y'all. So that's the differentiation there.
That's super interesting and good to know. I'm going to characterize this question and not ask the professional state by state. But the another question that spit up, and I'm actually curious about this, and I'm sure our audience is curious about this. How do you decide where to go and what to cover? Because there is a certain amount of you got to be in the right place at the right time. You somehow have a knack for consistently being in the right place and in the right time. How do you do that?
Honestly, I just feel like God has guided me to this
Mm,
profession. And so he helps me out a lot with that. But also, it's a combination between just, I feel like what, some would say luck or blessings. The other thing would be just me following the news cycle and basically going the opposite direction of the entire media. So, for example, and I would have loved
interesting.
to have been on the ground for it this week, and I just wasn't. But Dearborn, Michigan, there was a protest going on there. I kind of highlighted that to our team. We did have somebody on the ground for that. The coverage was great. Or the North Carolina ice raids that are currently happening right now. I want to say that Fox News was really the only on the ground big platform that I saw, that's been on the ground and location there. I have my own mission that I'm on for Frontlines this week, so I couldn't be at either of those locations, but typically that's where I would be, just the opposite of where the media is and what the media is focused in on. Never let them know your next move, my friends. All right, that's the mantra, that's the vibe.
Well, so because I mean, again, peek behind the curtain here. There's like a process where you got to like be able to convey, hey, I think this is happening here, and there has to be a lot of trust on your hunches and your gut, effectively, because that's what people are. That's what the approval process kind of necessitates, right?
Yeah, definitely. And, Turning Point's been great because they have given me a lot of trust. And also, I always say this, that my platform belongs to the American people. And they are oftentimes giving me a lot of leads and a lot of kind of tips on what they want to see covered. And whatever I cover that the American people are interested in usually goes very viral because, again, the American people are interested in it as
Yeah.
opposed to me or, like the mainstream media tries to do, force feeding people a narrative that they're not really interested in.
So on that line, again, another grok question that I thought was pretty interesting. It basically, and I'm characterizing it here, is asking how you find the balance between your personal feelings towards somebody in power and what the story is, and asking them about that question. We've had conversations. I'll let you tell us about it because we've had conversations about Savannah's relationship with actual people who have actual power and or lack thereof. But you want to elaborate on that because I think that's interesting.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think that is, again, one of the balancing acts of journalism. One of my main rules is like, don't be friends with
I
politicians. And I feel like, it's hard to be though, especially if you're in DC. Like Anna Paulina Luna, I love Anna Paulina Luna. And I think that when I do really like somebody, I try to be very honest about that. Because unlike the media, and this is why people hate the media, because they try to pretend like, oh, we're unbiased, but also Donald Trump is a Nazi. And, factually, everybody hates him. I don't hate him. Factually, the entire nation does, though. And maybe you should too. Like that's the entire media. And that's why people hate them. And so I just try to be really honest. I try to not be friends and buddy with people that are in politics. And I try to be really neutral, like even with people who I do like sometimes I feel like I criticize the Trump administration, for example, more because I like them and because I want them to do better and be the
Mm,
best. So it's like, okay, what do we need to focus on criticizing, right? Because if something is going well, like absolutely, we're going to talk about it, we're going to celebrate it. But also, it's like, I'm not here to be a hype man. I'm here to, really highlight and focus in on what the American people are focused in on. So oftentimes it's like, okay, let's take a peek at what needs to be critiqued, what needs to be
yeah.
done better and what the American people, again, are focused in on.
Well, and that was one of the first things. I'm glad you said it, because I was like, I don't know if this is like a public thing that she talks about, but one of the first things you told me is like, I'm not friends with politicians, and I feel like that is super admirable. I also have felt that sort of sensibility kind of creep into how I don't want to give too many specifics on this detail, but there was a person that I knew pretty well that was with a person that is actually in an elected position. And for some reason, I don't know if it was like the Sav mode kicked in, but I said hi to the person I knew, and like, I don't think I was rude, but I didn't say hi to the person.
You're like, I gotta go. I gotta go.
We had, and I do. I feel like that sense of responsibility, and I wouldn't even call myself a journalist, really. I kind of just am a commentator on social and cultural and political things. And so I'm not even getting like the hard scoop on anything, but I don't know. I like feel that. And I think that's super important, especially in the day and age of like genuineness and being able to trust people with their opinions. So I very much respect that in all that you do. Anything that you think would be fun for the audience to know about your line of work that we haven't already touched on? If not, that's totally fine. I'm just curious, broadly speaking, you're like, by the way, this is how this works, and nobody knows that's how it works. Again, if you don't have that ready and prepared, I know I'm throwing this on you. Feel free to feel like we can move on to the video section. But I don't know, you just open floor.
Sure. I think that a lot of people probably think I put a lot of prep work into my videos. And for a lot of them, I do. For, some of the reports, I do like to be really well researched. So I do put a lot of time and effort onto that. Like oftentimes when I am reporting, everything that I'm talking about is off the top of my head, the statistics, the facts, the timeline regarding like the immigration crisis in New York, for example. Other times I really do just stumble upon a story. And that has been some of the biggest stories that I've covered. For example, when I caught Jackson Hewitt offering $14,000 tax refunds to illegal immigrants in New York, I just happened to be in the right place at the right time. And I was outside of Roosevelt Hotel, which was one of the largest migrant hotels in New York City at the time. And I was kind of just walking around, observing, using my communication skills to go and talk to people and see what was going on the scene. I'm just a curious person, Joe Bob. And I think that's how I found some of my best stories. They weren't planned. It was simply me being out on the streets of America and going and seeing what average Americans are living through. And I think that's why a lot of my stories resonate with people, because it truly is what the average New Yorker, the average, Angelino, the average Texan is living through every single day. And it kind of goes unnoticed by them, right? Because it's normalized. I have a lot of friends who live in New York, and this might have even been you, Joe Bob. I was in California and I was filming this crazy guy screaming on the street. I don't know if it was you or one of my other friends in California.
It wasn't me screaming on the street, if that's what you're asking. I wasn't, I can confirm that it wasn't me.
Not that time. But no, it was just kind of like, I never would have thought to film that because I live in California and I see this so often. I see crackheads screaming at little kids so often that it's normal to me and I would never think to film it, but you are, and then it goes super viral. So I think as well, it's just like, a new set of eyes. And this is like San Francisco, for example. The reason why my footage went so viral with that is because I was like, I'm sorry, is it not weird to anybody else that people are out here with needles hanging out of their arm as children walk past? Is it normal for you guys to feel like your streets are a haunted house and every single street is scarier than the next as you're walking down? Like, am I crazy, or is that just normal for you guys? And so I think that's what it is. It's like having a fresh pair of eyes. And like that's some behind the scenes that a lot of people might not know. I love
that. That's super interesting because I think in certain very deep blue enclaves, a lot of that stuff unfortunately is normalized and people forget, oh, hey, this is crazy. The fact that we see people shooting up on public transportation is freaking crazy. And I like that, a fresh perspective on eyes. Sav will actually be back in a couple segments to watch some. It's Friday. We're going to have some fun. We're going to unseen videos, the segment that we do where Glenn pulls videos from the internet unseen by us. Sav's going to join us to comment on that. tbt@tbusa.com is the email address. We will be right back after the break. Don't go away. Welcome Welcome back to Turning Point Tonight, where together we are charting the course of America's cultural comeback. tbt@tpsa.com is the email if you'd like to send your thoughts, comments, concerns, criticisms. I'd also love to hear your thoughts on this next segment, because I think it's actually pretty interesting from a moral and ethical standpoint. I have strong feelings, and I'm curious to see what yours are as well. You can also go subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you can leave comments. You can watch exclusive content that we just can't fit into our very short and fleeting time here on Real America's Voices each and every night. So go to our Turning Point Tonight YouTube channel, our Facebook page, Instagram page, X account. Just type in JOBOB. You'll be able to find either me or the show, which is where all of the social media clips go. In case you miss a segment of this show, you can find them all there. I thought this was a really interesting peek into the culture of how things are done. And I'll say right off the bat, I wholeheartedly agree with this decision that has caused some division, especially on the internet. But again, I repeat myself, the internet is just constant division all the time. It came when Natalie Dawson, a 32-year-old co-founder and president of Cardone Ventures, fired 2 employees immediately after discovering something in their personal life. What she discovered is that 2 of her employees were having an affair while both were in relationships to other people. I already said this. I'm not going to bury the lead here. I wholeheartedly agree with that. There are people online, though, that are not taking the same tone, the same approach that I have. They've been saying, well, people have personal lives outside of work, and they should be able to do whatever it is they want. And what does that have an effect on their actual work and what they're doing in the office place? To me, I say a lot. It tells you a lot about a person, and you don't want to have a person who has a chaotic personal life working in the business that you are working in, because it obviously will affect their productivity. Now, I can understand the point of like, well, this is their personal life. And yeah, that's fine. Their personal life can be like, I like pizza instead of hamburgers. I drive a yellow car, which is absurd and somewhat sociopathic in my mind. But that's fine. That's acceptable. If you're going to cheat on your significant other, that actually will, 1, impact the work that you're doing at the place that you work, and 2, well, gives you insight of what kind of person you are. The rationale behind it, she said, if they're going to cheat on the person they're supposed to spend the rest of their life with, do you think they're cheating at work? The answer is yes, even though the podcast host decided to snipe back of, oh, this is personal life. Nope. Doesn't matter. Don't care. Don't buy it. It's bad. Fire those people. I'm interested in your thoughts. tbt@tpusa.com. Obviously, I have strong opinions on this, but that's, I don't know, because I think the core fundamental values that people have in their personal lives transcend into their work life. And if that's the type of value and ethic that you have in your own personal life, what is that going to say about your work product? Probably not good things. Another thing that I have strong opinions on, and this is strictly from a personal basis. So again, I'm very curious about you and your thoughts. tbt@tpusa.com. Whether you agree with this or you're wrong, doesn't matter. There's some new THC laws that are getting run up the flagpole in the United States legislation. The Trump administration is talking about this. Without getting into the specifics of the laws, there's going to be some rollback in THC content percentage in marijuana products. We're talking about weed here. In case you're not familiar with what THC means, I assume that you are, but that's what we're talking about. There has been a lot of statistics being thrown around of what will happen if this bill gets enacted into law, if President Trump signs it into law. ABC put out a bunch of statistics. $2.8 billion in the hemp industry will be threatened for elimination. 300,000 American jobs at risk. 95% of the market will be wiped out. $1.5 billion in state revenue taxes will be lost if this passes, if we roll back our acceptance of marijuana, weed, THC, all of those things. To which I say, I don't care. I think people abusing, and I recognize that's a term that people think, you can't use that with weed. I think you can. I think there are very clear effects that has on people's lives. I think the downfall of culture, not predominantly, but in some respects due to the prevalence of mind-altering substances, not only weed, but just really anything at all, is not worth the advantage, financially speaking, that you get from it. It's not going to kneecap the economy. Yeah, it's going to be tough for some people to find different jobs in different fields, but it is worth it to maintain, or at least try to maintain, a culture of people who aren't, to use the phrase Mint and Romney use, potted up out of their mind. I recognize that's a, I don't know, pretty straight edge type term and probably opinion, but that's just what I think. Let me know what you think. TPT@tpusa.com is the rollback of THC, something that's going to benefit society at the cost of some of the financial and economic factors, and is it worth it? TPT@tpusa.com. Would love to hear your thoughts on both of those. We got to take a quick break because we're trying to get another segment with Savanah Hernandez. We will be right back after the break. Don't go away. Welcome back to Turning Point Tonight, where together we are charting the course of America's cultural comeback, generally through the mockery of terrible lib ideas. TPT@tpusa.com is the email address if you'd like to send along your thoughts, things we should be looking at, things we should take a harder look at. If you have any criticisms of the show, it's okay to be wrong at TPT@tpusa.com. Also, go subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is growing by leaps and bounds. You don't want to be the last person that's not on our YouTube channel. We also do an extra segment of the show each and every day, except for Fridays, that only airs on our online platforms. So go check us out on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, Instagram. Just type in JOBOB. You'll be able to find all of us, everything that we're doing on social media accounts. By that, there's not a lot of Joe Bobs out there, so you should be able to find that fairly easily. I wanted to briefly talk about this. We'll keep it short and concise because I want to get Savanah Hernandez back on here to react to some videos that we've never seen and could possibly get us fired. We don't know. But this new SNAP benefits program, after the government shut down, there have been some new ways of doing SNAP EBT welfare effectively for the people that are on that system. And I think some of the arguments being made should be known and should be put into proper context. If you go to one of your lib media outlets, I believe this is ABC where we're getting this information from, they will say how bad and terrible this is. 1.1 million people will lose SNAP benefits between 2025 and 2034. Okay, hold on. 10 years, a million people, there's 330. That doesn't seem like a whole lot, but okay, if you're using raw numbers, millions scare people sometimes. It says this: 800,000 able-bodied adults will lose benefits. Those are people under the age of 64 without dependents, which, okay, doesn't sound super compelling. It talks about 53% of eligible adults could exit SNAP within 18 months due to work requirements. Okay, you're not making a very compelling case here as to why this is a bad thing. So what are the changes that are coming that the lib media is so disastrously scared about? Well, work requirements, age raised from 54 to 64. Okay, so that sounds fairly reasonable. If you're under the age of 64, which 65 is the general retirement age, and you are able-bodied without dependents, you have to work, or at least be trying to find a job. That seems fairly reasonable. Dependents' age threshold could change from 18 to 14 years old. Okay, I guess that's a little bit of a change, but at the same time, if you have a 14-year-old, you can work. If you're an able-bodied adult, you can work. Unless your child has some sort of severe disability, you can work. That seems fairly reasonable. And also, 18 seems like a pretty high number that probably shouldn't have been there in the first place. Exemptions are removed because you get exempt if you are part of this class. Homeless individuals, young adults who've aged out of foster care, and veterans. Now, the only thing I will accept quibbling with is veterans. I want to do best by our veterans. I want to do right by the people that serve this country. So I can understand a little bit of an argument there, but overall, all of these things seem thoroughly reasonable. The case that is being made is, look at how many people will lose their benefits. And the question that actually needs to be asked is, should they have been getting them in the first place? Because for some reason, nobody ever asks that question. Oh my gosh, this able-bodied, single 27-year-old man is going to lose his food stamps. Good. Why did he have food stamps to begin with? He's 27. He's an agile. I would kill to be a 27-year-old. I know I'm only 34 years old, but my knees are feeling it. I wish I was 27. And because of that, 27-year-olds who are able-bodied people able to work should have a work requirement at the very minimum. I think get kicked off altogether, but that's just me. We're going to take a break, so we got some extended time with Savanah Hernandez with some videos never before seen, and we'll send you off onto the weekend on a high note. We will be right back after the break. TPT@tpusa.com is the email address. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Turning Point Tonight, where together we are charting the course of America's cultural comeback, generally through the mockery of terrible lib ideas. tbt@tbusa.com is the email address if you'd like to send us your thoughts, comments, concerns, criticisms, even something that we should be talking about. I know it's a Friday, so we're having some fun. We're going to continue to have some fun in this next segment, but not before I remind you to go subscribe to our YouTube channel, the Turning Point Tonight YouTube channel, Rumble channel, all of the social media platforms is where you're going to find exclusive content. Not today, but most days, Monday through Thursday, we do an extra segment of this show that we just can't squeeze in to the time that we have together because it's so finite and so fleeting. We have to put it on the internet because that's the only place that it could live. So you don't want to miss out. Go subscribe to the Turning Point Tonight YouTube channel, Facebook page, Instagram channel, all of the things. Just type in JOBOB. You'll be able to find it very, very easy. Sav Hernandez, Turning Point contributor and Frontlines reporter, rejoins us for a segment that we've tried a couple different times. This is producer Glenn. Now, the risk that we're taking here is that I have not seen any of these clips. You have not seen any of these clips. The risk is that we could get fired because we don't know what's going on in the sick, twisted mind of producer Glenn. I have no idea what he's about to show us. We will all collectively watch these videos together, and then I'd love to get your thoughts and reactions and weigh in on the severity of the cultural impact of said videos. Again, chosen by producer Glenn, by the way. If you have hate emails, tbt@tbusa.com, just headline it. Producer Glenn is either great or terrible, whatever. First one up. Let's just fire away.
Ridiculous. You said I need to start taking care of myself.
You are absurd.
I'm marking what is mine.
You're gerrymandering the apartment.
It doesn't even make sense. These are my highly frequented areas. This is my chair.
God.
This chair was promised to my family 30 years ago.
You bought it off Facebook Marketplace last month. This is ridiculous. I mean, come on, you gerrymandered the TV.
Just the Netflix icon. That's my ex-girlfriend's account. I still have the login.
You don't need to do the chips.
You've eaten my food before.
This is leading into my room.
That's an annex. All right, don't look at it. Come on.
Are you kidding me?
What?
The lotion? What is that?
Okay, that's where I sit.
Hey, what's going on in here?
Hey, babe. Chris is marking his territory in the apartment.
Oh, that's so weird.
Hey, what the hell is that?
That's my girlfriend looking to redistrict it.
Welcome to the absolute state of modern day politics. I feel like if we wanted to explain what gerrymandering was, that video was actually very educational.
But seriously, I hate the fact that, one, that was funny. That was genuinely funny, genuinely entertaining. Some risque moments, but we'll let it slide. But also, how is that different than what's going on currently? Like, can you come up with any reasons how that's different than what's going on in Illinois, in California? Some detractors will say in Texas, but who knows if that's actually going to stand up constitutionally. How is that actually different?
No, I mean, that's actually how they do it. A guy just actually puts a blindfold on and they just like grab some, they like kind of like go like this on a paper with a blindfold. And then that's how they figure out the districts. That's how they do it.
Okay.
So, you know.
So here's the problem with that theory is that actually might be more fair than some of the deep blue states, especially in Chicago. Where you've got like this tiny little thing and then it balloons up over here when there's a bunch of rural, probably conservative areas, and then it go tiny thing to get a bunch of the big major metropolitan areas. That's honest to God, somebody with a talisman blindfolded probably would actually be more fair in representing conservative voices, especially in blue states. Any other thoughts on that? You want to go continue on?
No. Next video, Glenn, hit us with it.
Let's go.
Every 15 seconds, a home is broken into. That's why you need United Nations Home Security. United Nations Home Security protects your home exactly how the United Nations has protected countries since 1945. Dispatching to your house a team of highly trained, unarmed observers. Their job is to watch the burglar and take notes. His every move is seen and carefully documented. Then our 192-member United Nations Home Security Council debates until everyone can agree on an appropriate response, such as economic incentives. And if that doesn't work, economic sanctions. And if that also doesn't work, strongly worded condemnations. And if nothing else works, we will be forced to invite the burglar to join the United Nations Home Security Council. United Nations Home Security. There's nothing we wouldn't do for you, but little we can.
This is one of those that is funny and also terrifying because people actually think the United Nations does a thing. So Sav, I have a bunch of friends in a lot of different areas of work, and I remember years ago I was scrolling through Instagram stories, and a friend of mine had posted a picture of the UN building in New York and said, like, when your job actually matters. And I was like, no, it doesn't. It's the UN. What the heck does the UN do? Like, I don't know.
Joe Bob. Honestly, as I was watching this, my first initial thought was like, oh, so the way that they're actually going to solve this home burglary is by unlocking the door and then funding more burglars to go into the house and take more resources from the homeowner. So actually, they were quite gracious to the UN in this video, to be honest with you, because the UN is so sinister and did help fund the mass migration of people into the US. So
I was gonna say that's a very charitable take on the UN.
Yeah.
That all they do is observe and not actually just make things worse. I think President Trump has threatened a number of times to just pull out of the UN, and I can't help but agree with that 100%, because also too, what I feel like the UN does is it pretends that all of the countries in the world are they're all the same and they have equal say. Zimbabwe is just as important as the United States of America, and I don't know, I can't handle it, and I feel like the American people gotta wake up and go why are we funding everything that goes on in the UN?
Joe
Because
Bob,
we do.
I feel like modern day society is like high school. Like everything can kind of be deduced back to and compared to high school, where you have all of these groups and clubs that don't actually do anything and have no real merit in society. And also, how is the majority of anything running in society? Because everyone's actually kind of an idiot behind the scenes and has no idea what they're doing. Welcome to the modern day. It's actually baffling the older you get and the more people you work with and the more organizations like the UN that you look into. It's like, how is the world running? Like, how are things even operating right now? Like, what's going on?
I have no idea how anything is ever done ever at any point. Yeah. At the risk of going on to, but I think this is actually interesting for the viewers. So Sav and I went to Davos for the World Economic Forum. I was there to cover it journalistically. Sav was there speaking on a panel because she loves the World Economic Forum. Just kidding. She was doing the hard-hitting interviews. I don't know if you remember this, but the whole knock on the World Economic Forum and all of the people that go to Davos is they say all of these things that are just so astronomically stupid that it's difficult to even put it into perspective. But when we were on the streets, again, I don't know if you remember this or can comment on this, a bunch of the people that we talked to were there working with, the big power players, and talking to them, they themselves were like, oh yeah, I don't really buy into any of this. This is a job. I'm here for a job. And it seemed like the only people that actually bought into it were the 100 people that were inside the different forums. And everyone else was just like, yeah, we agree with you. This is crazy and stupid. Do you remember that? Was that your takeaway?
Yeah, I feel like honestly, I feel like everyone is aware that the World Economic Forum is more about how we can make more money for corporations, how they can surveil us even better, and how we can have less rights. And, the average person sees that and they're kind of like, yeah, we're just going to pretend that we're here to do a service for society. But we all know what's really going on here. It's a power grab.
Yeah, I'm glad to have not had to go back because
it was cold up there. All of their efforts about climate change, work harder. Can you just spray more nanoparticles into the sky, Bill Gates, because it's freezing in Switzerland?
There was an interview that I think you did where some guy was like, look, yeah, the global warming is a thing. There's no snow on the ground. And I think you panned the camera. We should have found that clip. Pan the camera. It's like the whole place is covered in snow. We're like, what the hell are you talking about, dude? I think we got time for one more. Let's rock and roll with this unseen clip chosen by producer Glenn in case there needs to be aspersions cast somewhere.
Oh. No, 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 I hate that. Pippin, no. Stop it.
Okay, and with that, we've all witnessed the last time producer Glenn will ever be tasked with picking videos. A minute
Not
long
the cat videos to close out a Friday.
yeah, you know, hey, it's Friday. We're going out into the weekend. And at the risk of being a person that digs too much into things, how emblematic is our house cats with liberals? They're sometimes nice to have around. Good coffee is good. I like art. At the same time, when something is perfectly situated, sometimes the only thing cats do is just ruin it. And so, yeah, that kind of feels like how libs treat the United States of America. Hey, this nice, serene piece of glass is sitting on this table. It'd be a shame if someone chucked it onto the floor. I'm gonna get some hate email in the cat tpt@tpsa.com if you're a cat lover and would like to hate me. I am a cat lover as well. Sav, do you have any thoughts here, or you also want to dig in too much politically to a ridiculous cat video compilation?
You know what? Sometimes the world needs a good cat video. And if anything, these made me realize that I don't ever want a cat. I was actually considering it. And then I'm watching this and I'm like, that is so chaotic. And if I want to deal with that type of behavior, I can just go to my regular liberal protest and watch them throw tantrums in the street. So, yes, like you said, very similar vibe going on there. You could just be standing next to a liberal and they might just swipe at you and freak out for no reason and just start having like a spaz attack, and you're like, what's going on? They're like human cats. Oh my gosh, get bored.
I appreciate that insight, and I also agree. So wow, didn't think we'd end the week on fun cat videos, but Savanah Hernandez, thanks so much for sticking around. Have a great weekend. Stay warm, stay safe wherever you're gonna go in the country next. Really appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks, Joe Bob. Always a pleasure being on Turning Point Tonight.
Thank you. That's going to do it for us here at Turning Point Tonight. Send you off into the weekend on hilarious cat videos. We will see you next week, same time, same place on Monday, tbt@tpsa.com. If you'd like to send hate email, address it to Sav Hernandez. We'll send it on over to her as well. Also, go subscribe to our YouTube channel. We will see you next week. God bless America.